So now we take a look at 7.2. In 7.2, you're going to have two formulas from your formula sheet that you're going to need. You will need simple interest, which will be I for interest equals P for principal, which is the present value, that's what you start out with, times rate, which is the interest rate, times time in years. Now the time may be the only thing that may give you guys problems because it must be in years. So if I say 4 months, and I know that there are 12 months in a year, I would put 4/12 in there. If I said 4 days, and I know that there are 365 days in a year, I would put 4/365 in there. So if I say 4 years, I just put a 4 in there. If I say 4 weeks, there are 52 weeks in a year, so I would say 4 out of 52, like that. And that's what I would put in there. So we'll do a couple of those problems just to make sure that you guys know what's going on. So let's just look. The problems that you're going to be doing are on page 320. You're going to be doing 23 through 48. So let's just look at a couple of those. And if you notice on every one of those, they give you years on everything except for the last two at the bottom, and they're in days. So we'll just be looking at years and days on these problems. So let's look at, let's look at number 28. 28 has a blank that says interest. That's what's missing. And then we have principal, which is $300. And then we have rate, which is 12.5%. And let's see, what else do we have? We have time, which is 3 years. And we have future value, which in your formula, it's an A is for future value. So if we have our formula, that's interest equals principal times rate times time. We're looking for interest, so we leave that one blank. Principal is 300. Rate is 12.5. So if you need to change that to a decimal, remember we did that back in chapter 4. You could do this one by saying that's 12.5, so we could move that 2 places and we would get 0.125. You could also say 12.5 and put it in your calculator as divided by 100, and it would give you your decimal. So you could just divide it by 100 and it would give it to you. But anyway, you have to have it as a decimal. It's 0.125 times 3, and we just take our calculators and do 300 times 0.125 times 3, and that gives us $112.50, and that is the interest. The interest is an amount, not a percentage. The R is the percent that we have on that one. Now it's also asking for future value, and if you look at your formula sheet, future value is principal plus interest. So this is principal, this is interest, so we would take the 300 and add it to that, and that would give us our future value. So this amount is the future value, and then the $112.50 is the interest on that one. So that's one of the example problems. Let's do. So in this one, we have that the interest is 600, the principal is 4,000, we're missing R, we have 1 year, and we're missing the future value. So for all of these, they fit with that one formula. The A is for the future value. So this is our formula that we use for this one. We have interest, we already know what that one is. We have principal. We don't have R, and we do have T. So this side is all multiplication, and 4,000 times 1 is 4,000. So we have 4,000 R. And anytime you want to get rid of something that's being multiplied, you always divide, which we've done this before when we were doing proportions. So R, if I take my calculator, is 600 divided by 4,000. And I come up with 0.15. Since we want the percentage, we need to change it by moving our decimal 2 places to the left. And my answer for the rate would be 15%. So that's what will go here. For my future value, remember that I take the interest and I add the principal. I have those 2 pieces, so I have the principal and I have the interest. So my future value is this amount. So that's what it's asking on those problems. Now let's do one that involves days. So let's do number 48 on this one. If we look at number 48, we're missing interest. We have principal of $236.50. So there's your principal. We have an interest rate of 8%. And we have time is 255 days. We're also missing future value, and we'll get that at the end. So let's see. For this part, we have our formula. I equals PRT. We're missing I. We have the principal. We have a rate of 8. We need to move our decimal. And then time is supposed to be in years, and there are 365 days in a year. So we do it like that. And if you punch it straight in your calculator, if you'll just punch in 236.50 times 0.08 and then hit enter to get an answer. This is the best way to do it on every calculator. If you will then take your calculator and punch in 255 divided by 365 and hit enter for an answer. And this is all, of course, in my calculator. So now I can just hit times 18.95, and this will be what I will get when I round. So that's my interest. And of course, future value is just take your interest and add it to your principal, and that will give you your future value. So this is how you deal with days. You just put it over 365.